So if you absolutely only watch one WrestleMania in your entire life, may as well be WrestleMania 3. This one was pretty great.
You're watching So Awkward. This is Freddy Krueger saying hi!
March 29th, 1987. I was 9 years old. This one I watched. I remember, I think maybe this was the first one that was really released on pay-per-view, because I remember watching it, I remember loving it, I remember being so excited for the build-up and being just blown away. It was amazing. It still holds up. Forget about WrestleMania 1 and 2. WrestleMania 3, this is the first WrestleMania. This is the first real WrestleMania. This is the first that really, I think, probably matched Vince McMahon's vision. And it still is the WrestleMania as we've come to know it today, which is basically the Super Bowl of sports entertainment. Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan, they hit a record crowd of 93,000 people. Lots of huge crowd shots, which they didn't really do in the first two. So this was epic. A huge event. And the matches were just great. I don't think there was a bad match on the card. And another thing that really makes WrestleMania 3 stand out ahead of the first two is that for the first time, I think they had a lot of video packages explaining the feuds going on, setting up the matches. And video packages now are a standard part, not just of WrestleMania, but of any real big sporting event. So it was like somebody at WWF really realized that there'd be people watching this event that haven't been watching wrestling all year, or maybe ever. I wouldn't even be shocked if Vince McMahon realized people would be watching this event 30 years in the future, which we are. So that makes it timeless and just a lot more fun, and gives the matches so much more relevance and meaning and purpose. Anyway, let's get right to it. The national anthem was sung by Aretha Franklin, and the commentary was by Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura. That's a great combo. Can't beat that combo. The first match was the Pan Am Connection, which is Rick Martel and somebody, I didn't write his name down, I don't remember, somebody I'd never heard of before, versus Don Morocco and Cowboy Bob Orton. I wrote down solid match. It was a solid match. The next match was kind of a weird gimmick match. It was Billy Jack Haynes versus Hercules, and it was a full Nelson match. Apparently they both like to do the full Nelson, and they both claimed that they were the master of the full Nelson. So it was a match with whoever puts the full Nelson on the other guy wins or something. I think Billy Jack ended up putting the full Nelson on Hercules outside of the ring, so they both got counted out. Or maybe it was the other way around. I don't remember. This one was pretty good, pretty fun. The gimmick was weird enough, but not so weird that it was stupid. But yeah, I liked this one. It was pretty good, and I remember both of these wrestlers well. The next one was another weird gimmick, a weird gimmick. It was King Kong Bundy and two little people versus Hillbilly Jim and two little people. So it was, in the Hillbilly Jim and King Kong Bundy obviously are both huge. So teaming them up with, little people, was, even though the commentary team kept calling them the M word, I'll say little people. The rule was that only the big people could fight the other big people, and only the little people could fight the other little people. But obviously, I think you can all tell where this is going to go. One of the little people ran in and started attacking King Kong Bundy, so King Kong Bundy just murdered him. He just, it was pretty great. I guess that's, you couldn't have a match like this on now. That's all I'll say. So they were disqualified, obviously. And then the Hillbilly Jim, kind of like the little guy was knocked out. He was unconscious, so Hillbilly Jim had to carry him out. And Jesse Ventura had the best line of the night. He said something like, Just put him in a trash bag and leave him in a dumpster. I don't know why I find that so funny, but I'm still laughing about it a few days later. So that one was pretty good, even though it was kind of dumb. And possibly offensive at this point. But hey, you gotta eat. Product of its time. Product of its time. The next match was JYD, Icon, huge star, versus the King, Harley Race. Another icon, another huge star of wrestling. This one was fantastic. This was up there as one of the best of the night. And it's not one that people really talk about that much. I certainly never hear people rank it as one of the best matches. What I'll say about it, and what I was thinking, if you want to be a wrestler now, or if you think you're a wrestler now, watch this match and watch how Harley Race sells. Because it was some of the best selling I've ever seen. Selling, if you don't know, is how wrestlers pretend that they're hurt. Like if you punch somebody, they sell that the punch was like the most powerful punch in the world. So Harley Race, just the way he reacted to JYD's attacks was just perfect. He made JYD look like the strongest man in the world. And it was just really fun and really, and he's such an evil character, Harley Race, at that point. And so watching him just get the crap kicked out of him, it was just so satisfying. You just see how happy the crowd was. Not in like a bloodthirsty way, because both of these two are fun characters. Like I don't think Harley Race was really that hated. I think he was still respected. But this was just a really good match with two of the greatest all-time old school wrestlers. Check this one out. Next we have a tag team match of the Rougeau brothers versus the Dream Team. Brutus Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine with Dino Bravo. That was a pretty good match, solid match. 4 great wrestlers putting on a pretty solid match. Not much to say about that, but it's not the most memorable match, but you won't skip it. The next one was also kind of weird. Adorable Adrian Adonis, who's just weird, versus Roddy Piper in his retirement match. Although he doesn't really retire. I think he retired for a while, but he does come back. Spoiler warning. We'll see him again on WrestleMania Wednesday. This one was good because Roddy Piper is always good. He's a great wrestler. He's a great showman. It was fun. This was just an all-out brawl, which is what Roddy Piper does best. He's a great technical wrestler, but he's more fun just watching him just go crazy and beating people up. And which is what he did, and it was pretty fun, and he got a really huge ovation because everybody knew he was retiring. I love Roddy Piper. Rest in peace. Oh yeah, this one had a weird gimmick too, because the loser got their head shaved. But then Brutus Beefcake came back out. He had some kind of face turn in the previous match where Greg the Hammer Valentine hit him by accident. I don't really remember what happened. But for some reason, he was the one who shaved Adrian Adonis' head. And that's why Brutus Beefcake became Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I don't know if that was the intent. If they said, oh, we're going to have you shave his head and then your new character will be a barber. Or if he just did it and the crowd reaction was so strong, they were like, let's make him a barber. I don't know. But anyway, historical footnote, this was the start of Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And then we have my man, Bret Hart, the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, tag team champions, along with Dangerous Danny Davis versus the British Bulldogs and Coco Beware. This feud I vaguely remember as a kid. Danny Davis was a referee who was evil, and he used to help the bad guys win, or at least he would turn a blind eye when they would cheat. So finally the British Bulldogs and Coco Beware hated him so much that they challenged him to a fight. But he was friends with the Hart Foundation or something, I don't know. So it was basically kind of a handicap match where the Hart Foundation did most of the wrestling, but then when they would beat somebody up who couldn't attack again, then they would tag in the referee guy. So this match wasn't great because I think Danny Davis's lack of wrestling skill held it back. I would rather have just seen the Hart Foundation versus the British Bulldogs. That would have been great to see at WrestleMania 3. But as it was, I mean, there were still 5 great wrestlers in the 6-man tag, so it was pretty fun. Danny Davis cheated again, and they won. So I guess the feud continued. I don't remember what happened, but nobody remembers Danny Davis anymore, so obviously it didn't go that far. Sorry, it wasn't Coco Beware, it was Tito Santana. Coco Beware is in this next match versus the Natural Butch Reed. I wrote down fine. Obviously, I merged both of these matches in my brain. I don't know. I have nothing else to say about it other than that it was fine. And sorry, Coco Beware. And sorry, Tito Santana. He's a fantastic wrestler. He was great. And then we have arguably the best match of the night, arguably one of the best matches of all time. It's generally considered to be the greatest WrestleMania match. Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for the Intercontinental title. Randy Savage is the champion. Steamboat is the challenger. They've been feuding forever. I remember it as a kid. This match is just the build-up, the feud, the storyline going in, the storyline of the match, just the action, the moves, the spots, the athleticism of the two guys. They're both great technical wrestlers. They're both high flyers, both brawlers. 2 wrestlers who can do everything. I'm not going to go ahead and say this is the best match of WrestleMania history. I might get to that once I watch all of these WrestleManias and then rank the matches, or at least the top 10. But everybody's seen this match, right? I've seen this match dozens upon dozens of times. It's obviously, you can see it on the network. It's on my Randy Savage Ultimate Collection DVD. Watch it all the time. Just a phenomenal match. Spoiler warning, Ricky Steamboat wins. With the help, maybe, of George the Animal Steele in his corner. It's not the cleanest win, but it adds to the magic of the match. Randy kind of won, but so did Steamboat, but officially Steamboat won, and he gets the title. He later loses it to Honky Tonk Man, but we'll get to Honky Tonk Man. In fact, we'll get to Honky Tonk Man right now, because the next match is Honky Tonk Man, one of my all-time favorites as a kid, and I still like him. I think he's incredibly underrated. Nobody ever talks about him as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Maybe he's not, but I think he's better than most people give him credit for. Versus Jake the Snake Roberts, who of course is credited as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And this was a pretty great match. Really fun. 2 great wrestlers in my opinion, having a great match. In fact, I wrote down in my notes, awesome. Honky Tonk Man, if you don't know, his gimmick was he was like an Elvis impersonator. That was his thing. He was basically Elvis, but a wrestler. Honky Tonk Man, of course, was accompanied by his manager, Jimmy, the Mouth of the South Hart. Well, Jake was accompanied by Alice Cooper. Weird, I know, but I guess he was from Detroit, and WrestleMania 3 was in Detroit. So I guess he was representing, his hometown or something. Then we had the Killer Bees versus Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik. This, on paper, this sounds like a great match, and it was decent, but it had a weird finish because Hacksaw Jim Duggan came out, and I think he hit, I think it was Nikolai Volkov with his, it's 2x4, and so the Killer Bees got disqualified. I think obviously they were trying to build up some feud with Hacksaw and the heels, but I wanted to see more, just good technical wrestling from all of these guys, or at least from the Killer Bees and Iron Sheik. I think they wanted to put Hacksaw into WrestleMania somehow, so good for him for sneaking in there somehow. And then, of course, we have the main event, which I'm not going to say is the greatest main event of all time, but maybe it was. 9-year-old me certainly thought it was. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant, of course, is one of the greatest heroes of all time, and they turned him evil. They turned him into a heel. Had him challenge Hulk Hogan. This 15-year undefeated streak or something like that they kept talking about. I remember as a kid watching WrestleMania 3. And even before that, like the weeks leading up to it, just being terrified that Hulk Hogan, there's no way he can beat Andre the Giant. I was so scared for him, and I felt so sad for him because he was going to lose the title, and he was my favorite of all time. And I remember watching WrestleMania III and being so nervous and just looking at my father and brother, and they weren't nervous, and I was like, why aren't they, like, what is wrong with them? Why aren't they upset? And then there was a promo, like an interview with Hogan, and he does this thing, you know, take your vitamins, brother. And I just remember being so blown away and being like, okay, like my confidence was restored. I still didn't think he would win, but I thought to myself, and this is all true, I was 9 years old. I thought to myself, if I don't think he can win, but if anybody can beat Andre the Giant, it's Hulk Hogan. Spoiler warning, Hulk Hogan won. This was a great match. Neither of these two are great technical wrestlers, and at this point in his career, Andre the Giant was basically useless. Like, he was, his great height and his whatever disease it was, that his giganticism made him basically immobile, and everything he did was just torture on his back and his legs. He could barely move. You wouldn't know it by watching this match, though, because he takes a lot of falls, a lot of bumps. So he's a hero for that. But the way the story was told was just perfect for the limitations of these two athletes. It was weird to see a David and Goliath story with Hulk Hogan with David, but it worked. Like, it opens with Hogan going right for a body slam, but then he falls back and Andre almost pins him. And then, of course, they do the thing where basically just Andre just beats the crap out of him for the next few minutes until Hogan finally hulks up. And with the love and support of the crowd, you know, he gets his energy going and he slams him. And just watching Hogan body slam Andre, even now, you know it's coming. I've seen it 100 times. Just the way the crowd just goes insane. It was electric. It's electric watching it on TV, live. It's electric 30 years later, watching it on your computer. It's just a great, iconic WrestleMania moment. Maybe the greatest and most iconic WrestleMania moment, I don't know. Anyway, that's WrestleMania 3. I'm not going to go ahead and crown this the greatest WrestleMania because I still have 29 or whatever more to go, where I officially want to rewatch them before I can really make that call. It probably won't be, but it's certainly better than the first two. And I bet it'll be in the top 5. I bet it'll be in the top 3. So, yeah, if you're only going to watch one WrestleMania, and why would you only watch one? Because there's so many. But if you do, this is the one to check out. Anyway, thanks for watching. If anybody's watching, if you're watching, comment down below with your thoughts on WrestleMania 3. What was your favorite match? Did you watch it live at the time? What are your thoughts from a historical perspective? I don't know, just let's talk about WrestleMania. I'm just talking to my camera. It's nice to get some feedback. Anyway, see you next Wednesday. If you absolutely only watch... So if you absolutely can only watch one WrestleMania in your... So if you absolutely can only watch... So if you absolutely only watch one WrestleMania in your entire life, it may as well be WrestleMania 3.